Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you might be. Welcome back to the Same Old Arsenal podcast episode. Yeah, it's 81 again because we've done 81 last. Well, we tried to do 81 last week, but we stopped halfway through it because it lagged. I'm probably lagging right now. I'm very sorry if I am, but look, as long as you can all hear me, I don't really care. Joining me this evening, with no further ado, Harry, how are you, sir?
Good, mate. Thank you. Very good. Loving this weather. I can wear shorts. It might not be sunny every day, but yeah, loving walking around in a t-shirt. I'm happy at the moment.
Good. Did you get your legs out?
Of course, man. Of course. I'll show you later.
No, all right. Okay. Off air. A man who needs no introduction. He's been with us plenty of times before. Turkish, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on again.
Not at all, mate. Happy to have you on. The last time we tried to get you on, we had a bit of a nightmare, didn't we? But we got you on this time, so it's all good. And of course, my main man, my second-hand man. Look at him. Look. I'm surprised he ain't dressed up in full cricket gear.
I don't like cricket. I love it.
Do you know? I don't know if you saw my tweet yesterday, but I put a tweet out saying that I was going to experiment. I was going to watch the cricket. I was going to spend the day watching the cricket.
Yeah, I saw that.
And all I can say is, what a waste of a day. Why don't they?
Yeah, we was watching some other game.
Lee, answer me this question, right? Why don't they just do what they've done at the end of every game? 6 balls, 2 batsmen, let's go.
Well, it wouldn't last very long, would
it? Exactly my point.
I tell you what, from start to finish, that was fantastic cricket from the word go. It was just a great day, and then you had the brilliance of Roger Federer on the other side. That I thought was going to. I was flicking all the time. I thought I was going to watch. I was watching a miracle there when I thought Federer was going to win that. 37 years of age to turn that around was unbelievable.
Yeah,
and then unbelievably lost it.
Don't agree with him.
And then to watch the cricket and all the things that happened in that, my God, New Zealand, like Mars, will have gone home. You know, to lose the World Cup like that, you know, was unbelievable. It's how you want Spurs to lose cup finals like that, you know what I mean? So,
George, did you see that thing today where they were saying that actually they should have been given 5 runs?
Five runs, yeah, because they didn't cross, you know. Yeah. So all the controversy of it all, you know, so unbelievable. And to win it unbelievably on who got the most boundaries, which was a little bit unfair because obviously New Zealand went first. So they, you know, England knew how many boundaries to get, but even though that didn't really come into play. But I think realistically, you know what I mean, they should have had another over. You know, another 3 batsmen in, another bowler, and go for it again. It was that good, and you know,
you lost me now. You lost me.
Yeah, same here, mate. He does this perfect. Sorry, mate. He does this.
We'll talk about it later, Judge. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah. We'll talk about it later. The connoisseur of sports we are, Harry. You know what I mean? The rogues upstairs there, they don't know what they're on about.
Yeah. As always, just before we get going, our partners at Fansbet. If you like a bet of the weekend, please go and check out Fansbet up on the screen now. You can follow them on Facebook, you can follow them on Twitter, and you can follow them on Instagram. Sign up for an account with them if you'd like to do a little accumulator at the weekend, and choose the Same Old Arsenal podcast as your partner when you're signing up. All sign-ups and all bets help us fund the podcast. So thank you very much indeed. You don't have to do it, but if you do, just think of us. Thank you very much indeed. Now, let's get on to matters at hand, shall we? Since we've met last time, well, since me and Lee have met last time anyway, our captain has gone AWOL. Well, not gone AWOL, but refused to travel. And sorry, now I'm just going to stop here now. Very rude of me. Good evening to you all in the chat box. My complete apologies. I'm still getting used to this new bit of software, so my apologies. Nearly 100 of you watching already. Thank you very much indeed. Hope you're all well. Thank you for Nigel for moderating the chat for us. So since we met last, Lee, we'll start with you, mate. Since we met last, we've had our club captain has refused to go on tour to America. What about that?
Well, first and foremost, you know what I mean, he's wrong to be doing that. You know, he gets paid a hell of a lot of money to and to be, to represent Arsenal and play for Arsenal. And if they're saying that he's got to go to America, then he should have gone there. But my other take on the other side of it is that this is a player that's been here for 9 years, give us 9 years fantastic service. Why on earth would he want to ruin his reputation and his club status by doing that? Something must have been is going on. People can say that it's wrong and it's whatever. Like if promises were made, don't get me wrong, he should never go on strike and do something like that he's done. But it in a way it says where we are at the moment at the club. That we as a club are desperate to keep a 33-year-old player that's on his last legs at the club. When realistically, we should be looking at fresh blood. Do you know what I was talking to someone today, funny enough, about it, and when players have got 30, Arsenal were desperate to get them out the door as quickly, and now all of a sudden we're desperate to keep them. It says a lot about the club. It says where we are, what state of play we're in at the moment. I do believe that probably they was looking to sign this French kid and then loan him back. I think then, obviously, they didn't think that may be happening, and the deal obviously was that they had to loan him back. So they thought, right, well, we'll keep Koscielny for another year, and he's probably been promised something that's not been there, and has decided that to throw his toys out, instead of doing it properly. But a lot of things wrong at the Arsenal at the moment, Craig, and listen, they put an advert on the Adidas thing, play for the badge. We was talking about it last week, Turkish, weren't we?
Yeah.
It's embarrassing. I've got Spurs fans texting me and taking the mickey about it. The club is in an absolute state at the moment. I see a picture today of all the transfer team all laughing and joking with Josh Kroenke. Makes me sick. Laughing. What are they laughing about?
Yeah.
What are they laughing about? How much free wine they got yesterday or whatever? Because at the end of the day, nothing's going to get. People have mocked me when they said, I turned around and said nothing will get done in these next 2 weeks, and I don't think that they will. And do you know what? Now I'm getting to the stage, Craig, where I don't think nothing's going to happen at all.
I think you're right. I don't think there is going to be anything happening.
I really don't think, and I think they're going to come out and say, "Oh, we tried for this one, we tried for that one, we've done this and we tried that," and at the end of the day, sorry, we got nothing. Yeah. And and if that is the case, Koscielny, ain't going to be the only one down in tools, because I imagine it'd be a few thousand Arsenal fans as well.
I've got to agree with you, mate. I don't think anything's going to get done, and you've only got to look at the two latest transfer stories that we've been linked with. I mean, a couple of days ago, someone said that we'd made an £80 million bid for Pepe. Now, how can we be bidding £80 million for Pepe?
We're end up with Pepe Pig. That's what we're end up
with. How are we bidding £80 million for a player, for him, if we can't get a £25 million deal across the line?
Yeah, exactly. Nice shirt, by the way, Craig. Nice shirt, by the way. Just thought I'd mention that. Nice shirt.
Thank you very much. I don't think so. We'll come to that. We'll come to that a bit later on. But Turkish, what's your thoughts on Laurent Koscielny not going to America?
I can only really echo what Lee was just saying. The way I look at it is, over the years, as a massive Arsenal fan, supporter, as someone who's grown up with the club, as someone that feels at home with the club, when certain situations arise, you tend to stick by the club name, the club badge. And that was all good and well for me up until a certain point when I'm looking at it, hold on, all these players that have been leaving, all these players that have left us at times when we've needed them, and we've got down the players next about it, saying they want more money and they're just mercenaries and whatnot. A lot of them have been justified in their moves, not only by making more money, by winning more trophies. Now, this doesn't relate straight to Laurent Koscielny, who's at the back end of his career. He actually wants to go and earn less money. He won't earn anywhere near 90k at the clubs he wants to push a move to. So that just shows to me that it's definitely not about money with Koscielny. And he's ruined, essentially, his 9-year legacy at the club. But a lot of fans loved him. A lot of fans stood by him. I've always thought he wasn't the leader that we wanted at the back. but I've always also thought that he wasn't paired with someone that would lead the team and bring out the best of his qualities. So with Laurent Koscielny, I had to take a step back now. And I was talking with Lee last week, and when Van Persie left the club, again, it's not exactly similar situation, but when Van Persie left the club, Van Persie wrote an open letter to us fans. And in that letter, he stated that he sat down with Gazidis and Wenger, and it wasn't about wages, it wasn't about personal finances, it was about the vision for Arsenal Football Club moving forward at what was a crucial time in Van Persie's career. Like, looking back now, I was very emotional about it. I burnt my Van Persie shirt. To this day, I don't like the man, especially what he said after signing for United with the little boy inside me and whatnot. But if we just take that letter to the fans and just look at that letter today, everyone just open it up after this podcast and read what he said. Nothing has changed. And he was trying to highlight to us the problems at Arsenal Football Club that really and truly us fans, the majority of us fans, are seeing today. If only we could have taken a step back then and understood maybe why someone that obviously grew up supporting Arsenal, because you saw in his room the posters, you saw he was wearing the Arsenal shirt, why he'd make such a decision to also ruin his legacy at the club to go sign for a rival and in the end win a title. When I look at that letter now, it's just, I wish that we took more notice of the words in that letter, and because he only talked about the direction of Arsenal Football Club, and it relates to this day. Like I said with Chris Hudson's interview on AFTV, one of the first interviews, it relates to this day. Nothing has changed from those times. And with Laurent Koscielny, you got to take a step back and understand why he's done it. I think it's very easy to say, and I think it's right to say that he is wrong for doing it. But in 2 months, if we come to realise that he told the Arsenal hierarchy that he wants to leave towards the back end of the season, if they promised him that they would let him go, but only to switch it up because Saliba wants to be loaned back or the club, then that's wrong. Essentially, he's given his best years to the club. We need to move on from the dead wood at the club, and he is part of that. I know he's not on the level of a Mustafi or, let's say, in my opinion, a Xhaka or an Ozu in terms of moving them out of the club, but a 90k centre-back at 33, turning 34, who's not going to play 2 games a week, who, like I said, his best years are behind him, and who hasn't really been the captain of this squad that we've needed. We had 5 captains last year, and the captaincy is a bit of a mess, but it's all been reported as our captain's gone AWOL. Arsenal Football Club don't have a captain. We haven't had a captain, in my opinion, since probably Mikel Arteta, if people want to call him a captain. But yeah, I've just taken a step back from the situation, Craig. It's very unlike Laurent Koscielny, so I'm just going to wait and see what he comes out with, because all I've wanted from Wenger since he's left is him to come out with the truth. All I've wanted from anyone that's left the club is to speak a bit of truth, and Van Persie did do that. Dick Law the other day did do that. I'm hoping Sven Mislintat does that. I'm hoping Laurent Koscielny does that, because as much as people will laugh at our problems and as much as this adds to the banter era or whatever people want to call it, the holes need to be exposed before we can plug all of them. And Wenger did a good job of hiding all of the holes, because as you can see over the past year, they've all been unraveling in front of our eyes. So
very interesting, mate, hearing you say that. I've always said that Robin Van Persie, I was the same as you when Robin Van Persie left. I was gutted. I'm with you, mate. It's when you keep looking and keep reading what he said. There was hidden messages in there for us all, but instead we chose to. The emotional. We were all upset there. Yeah, of course, we all got emotional about him leaving. He was out.
But we must learn off those times. We must learn, otherwise we're at risk of doing it all over again every other year. We must learn and realize that ownership-wise, yes, he's become the majority owner, but a lot of these things happened under his stewardship, because whether he was 30%, 60% or 100%, he's always been allowed on the board. He's always been allowed to make decisions. And essentially, I think Hillwood has always known that it was going to go to him. So the seed was planted early. So I blame him for a lot more than just the past year in full ownership. We cannot give him a clean slate for full ownership. That's just another excuse.
Absolutely, mate. Harry, what's been your take of the past week, mate?
On the Koscielny situation, I echo what the guys have said, pretty much that, it's very out of character for someone like Laurent Koscielny to do what he's done. I want to start off by saying that I think it's out of order what he's done. The fact that he's not gone on the tour is out of order. Whatever way you look at it, there's no defending that action. As the club captain, you need to go. and you need to, you know, try and deal with whatever differences you have between yourself and the club, you know, behind closed doors. But saying that, Koscielny has kept his mouth shut. It's the club that came out and said what they said. When you think about it, if the club had turned around and said to us that Laurent Koscielny was struggling for fitness and that's why he didn't go, we'd have all believed it, because he's had so many injury problems that, you know, I feel like they could have kept this quiet and could have dealt with this in the background. So I was a little bit disappointed in that sense, because I've read people saying, oh, you know, but the club told us the truth. The club are being ruthless. They haven't told us the truth, because the statement they put out, was 2 sentences long. And I'm sure there's a lot more to it than just that. You know, all they've said is he's not travelled and we're very disappointed in his actions, which doesn't tell us anything. I agree with the guys when they say that there's probably more to this. In fact, I absolutely am confident that there is more to this, because he hasn't just woken up one day, had a personality transplant, come into work and decided to say, actually, I don't want to play for this football club anymore, and you got to terminate my contract. Not even sell me, but you got to terminate my contract. That's what the reports are saying. And it feels like he was promised something. He was promised to leave. David Ornstein, I think it was talking about how Koscielny was unhappy with the direction of the club, which we all are. And he said about he was unhappy with the way his fitness was managed towards the end of last season. And we could all see him struggling. We could see him, you know, go make a slide tackle, and for 5 minutes he'd be limping around the pitch after. We know he's got problems. And if he has been told that he can leave, and, you know, they've gone back on their word because they're incompetent in the transfer market, then that is bang out of order. And so, you know, going back to my original point, whilst I completely disagree with Koscielny's actions and what he's done, given the previous history that Turkish was talking about and everything we know about the past, it's very, very hard, isn't it, to look at Koscielny and say you're solely to blame for this. So it remains to be seen what's happened. I'm sure we're going to find out in the future. But for now, I'm very reluctant to sort of lean either way, because on the one hand, I'm annoyed with Koscielny for refusing to go and essentially embarrassing the club. But on the other hand, you know, I'm annoyed with the club of how they've been operating for years now. So to say that they're probably innocent in this is a little bit far-fetched, I'd say.
Yeah. I don't know, boys. Listening to you all there, I'm with you, mate. There's got to be something more than just, you know, he wakes up one morning and decides, you know what, I ain't going. There's got to be a lot more to it. Could it be that Arsenal said to him, if a bid comes in, you can leave? A bid has come in and they've turned it down, and he's got the ump. You know, reports say that he wants to go back to France. I think he's from. Is he from around Bordeaux, around that way? He was looking to get a move back to Bordeaux, I think. And apparently Bordeaux have made a decision. I'm just saying what I've heard. That Bordeaux made an offer and Arsenal turned it down, and he got the ump. And if Arsenal have told him that he's in, if they have told him that an offer, when an offer comes in, and they haven't let him go, then, you know, can we blame the bloke for not going, Lee?
Well, listen, you're under contract. Whatever happens, you know, this is the problem. Once you're under contract, you know, my argument to it is, you know, like we were saying this the other day, if you had a raffle and every Arsenal fan could go on that tour, you know what I mean, and people will be dying to go on that tour, and he's just sort of like bombed, you know, not gone on it. And once you're under contract, whether you agree with it or not, you sign that contract and you have to fulfil that contract, you know. And obviously, like, you can, you know, down tools in other ways if you want to say you're not going to try or whatever, you know, behind closed doors. Who knows what goes on? But to come out and say you're not going to do your job, you know, is a big thing for it to happen. And, you know, I look at it there. I've also got to say, from the other point of view, is why have Arsenal come out and said about it? Why? You know, is it really ruthless on a 33-year-old player that's towards the end of his career? Seems to me like they've thrown him under the bus, you know, because the lack of transfers. You know, at Boreham Wood the other week, there was singing about, you know, Stan Kroenke. All of a sudden, what can we do to deflect that? Well, that's going to be very hard. I'll tell you what, we'll throw Laurent Koscielny, a 33-year-old, you know, on his last leg central defender, under the bus. And all of a sudden, it's all about Koscielny and not the incompetence of the board and everything else about getting players and signed and everything like that, you know. And it is. You know, I look at, you know, the boy from Celtic, you know, £25 million. You know, if you really want that player, go and get him. You know what I mean? All this thing about, you know, 25 million, offer the money up front or give them what, you know, go to Celtic and say, what do you want? Realistically, what do you want? Right, you want 25 million. What do you want up front? If it's 18 million up front, then there's the 18 million, not 16 or 15, and then we'll give you this on that. So, right, we'll give you 18 million now, and the rest next season or the season after you can have it. You know, I keep going on about this. If you go into the shop and the shirt's 50 quid, if you go up to the counter and go, here, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 30 quid for it now. I'll give you a tenner next week, and a week after I'll give you another tenner. What are they going to say? They're going to tell you to get out of the shop. And this is the same things that what we're doing. You know what I mean? This is, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, but this is Arsenal Football Club. We left Highbury to scrimp and save over a £25 million player. I watched, you know, we was told we can compete with Barcelona, just somehow have got a deal for £125 million for Griezmann. You know what I mean? It's not exactly hard. You know, it's £25 million player from Celtic. You know, if you can't get deals like that done, what chance have we got? What chance have we got when we can't get deals like that done?
I mean, for me, Kieran Tierney is a good player to sign for the future and stuff, and you know he's done well and he's got a good reputation and everything. And I know that, you know, we're not completely convinced on Kolasinac as a left back and Monreal as a left back, but I do find it hard to believe that if our budget is that low, that we're going to go and spend 25 to 30 million pounds on a left back when we've already got two. We've got a centre back that doesn't want to play for us at the moment. We've only got one right back at the club that's of any decent quality, and it just feels like there's other positions. And I feel like Arsenal are not 100% invested on this Tierney deal, and that's why they're pissing around and trying to do it with, you know, instalments and this and that.
Exactly, and pull out of it, Harry. They pull out of it, and then we'll have nothing.
But you know what it is? I agree with that. But what the club need to do is sort out this piss poor wage structure. Now, Kieran Tierney, a great young fullback with potential, has all the attributes you can see in fullbacks in the league now that are excelling, and is someone that would be an improvement on that side of the pitch. Now, if anyone had any sense at Arsenal Football Club, as soon as the season ended, you put in that bid for Kieran Tierney. It doesn't take you 6 weeks. It doesn't take you 4 days before the kit launch to do it, and you actively seek to move on Kolasinac. Kolasinac is on 140 a week. If you can bring Kieran Tierney on 70k a week, and you move Kolasinac for 25 mil as well, the same price, potentially a bit less, potentially a bit more. I don't know his market value right now, and that way you haven't spent any of your original transfer budget, and you've lowered the wage bill, all in 1-2 moves. But instead, Arsenal are dilly-dallying over Kieran Tierney, probably because they don't know if they can move Kolasinac on. Because it does look like Monreal signed a year contract to be our backup. So if Kolasinac is still here, then it doesn't make sense to sign Kieran Tierney. You're right, because of our transfer budget. But it does make sense if they actively move Kolasinac on and save money on the wage bill. I just don't see what's going on at the moment. Yeah. Like, not only no incomings.
We've just got a good question here from Bill, and he says it should pop up on the screen. Oh, there we go. Bill says in the Laura Woods interview, they said anyone with 2 years left on their contract would be sold. It's disappeared. 1 second now. Let me get it back. Sorry about this, Bill. New gremlins and all that. There we go. Bill says in the Laura Woods interview, they said left on their contract, they will sign or will be sold. They either sign or they be sold. Mm-hmm. We have Ozil, Henrik Mkhitaryan, Mustafi 2 years left. What's happening with them? Good question. Harry?
I think with that, the thing is, when they sat down and gave that interview, it was just a lot of smoke screens for me, and it feels like you can have a theory like that, like, you know, if they've got 2 years, they have to sign or be sold. But it's not that simple, because if you can't sell them and you can't find replacements, then you can't just let people run their contracts down. You can't just sell people for the sake of selling them without replacing them. It's so much more complex than that, I just think. And you know, what's the most alarming thing about it is that it's the 15th of July, and Raul sat there talking about how transfer targets have been identified or should be identified months before, and that when the transfer window opens, the deals should be already there, and you should just be getting things over the line. And it's the 15th of July, and we still don't know what's going on. We're hearing about initial bids for players. We're hearing about, interest that's rumbling on for weeks and weeks and weeks, and nothing's happening. So, people got a right to be pissed off and wound up about it. And, I was one of those people, and I said it to Turkish a few weeks ago that, I'll give it a little bit longer and before I'm sort of up in arms. But my patience is wearing thin, and, I'll happily admit that. How long can you sit there and be hopeful that the club is going to do something? And Bill's absolutely right. There are players there that are going into the last 2 years of their contract, but we're not in a position to go up to those players and say, right, you're going to be sold if you don't sign. Because what if if we do sell them and we can't bring people in? And it feels like people don't want to join Arsenal anymore, and it's a real sad state.
The only thing that I would say about that is we don't know if negotiations have been taking place. We don't know what's going on there. They might be quiet. They've gone on and done those things. But the only one saving grace I can see at this moment in time, boys, and it's nothing to do with Arsenal, is that I look around at other teams, and it's very, very quiet as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that is the only saving grace that I can look at. You know what I mean? I don't see any other like other teams making big signings at this moment in time. So we just maybe everybody is a little bit slow because sometimes it's another one signing reacts to another one that reacts to another one. But with all those other teams, that when people say that to me, and I try to be as like we all are trying to be positive and trying not to lose my but my patience is running thin. I look at other teams, and they don't need as much work as what we do. You know, I look at it. If you're a director of football like these guys are, and they're making millions and millions of pounds, if they go into this season without a backup right back for Bellerin, you know what I mean? That's a sackable offence in my opinion, because they've had a year to sort that out. I do not want to see Maitland-Niles backing up or playing at right back when he's not a right back. This is Arsenal Football Club. You've had a year to sort out another right back. They've still not done that. Now, that is a deal where whoever that right back could be, it could be a young kid from somewhere, whatever, that could have been sorted out months and months ago. But you know why? Because Bellerin got injured in February. You know what I mean? Like, so we've now, that could be sorted. We need a backup for that. That's one thing that can be done. Now, we go on about the Koscielny thing and saying, we can't get rid of Koscielny. All right, we can't get rid of him. So I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll play him as our first choice left back. You know, I mean, these players are not good enough for other teams because they don't want to get them. So why the hell are we playing them? You know what I mean?
Them work hard, yeah.
Mustafi can't be sold. So I'll tell you what, he's going to run out against Newcastle the first game of the season, is he? Because no one else wants him, you know? And the thing is, what Bill said there about those negotiations, let's be honest about this. If you're Lacazette or you're Aubameyang at the moment, are you going to sign? Are you sensible enough to think, because they're Arsenal players and be loyal at the moment? I'll be looking at him. The first question would not be, how much more money that am I going to get? The first question I'll be asking is, who are you signing that's going to make me play in a Champions League?
Mm-hmm.
And what they're going to turn around and say to you is, we've tried to sign some left back from Celtic. We've tried to sign some player from St Etienne, but we haven't got them. But here, sign this. You know what I mean? You're going to stick it up your arse. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the fact. You know what I mean? Like, and you can say about loyalty and whatever. It comes to there. I still say this now, as we're sitting here now, Aubameyang or Lacazette, one of them will go by the end of this season, by the end of this transfer window. I'm still going to say it, that one of them will go. Because you know why? We can't get them both of them in the team without disrupting other areas, and the other areas we're weak at. You know what I mean? And I still believe that if a good offer comes in for one of them, they'll be gone. And we might go and get this guy from Brazil that they're talking about, Everton, who should be playing for one team in the Premier League, and it ain't Arsenal. You know what I mean? But there's another story. But these things I can see things happening. You know what I mean? And I do believe we will sell one of our big assets. And unfortunately, One of our big assets is Xhaka. We can't get rid of. Another big asset is Ozil. We can't get rid of. Another big asset is Kolasinac. We can't get rid of. Mustafi. We can't get rid of. One of the two we can get rid of. Mkhitaryan's another one we can't get rid of. One of the two that we can get rid of is Lacazette Aubameyang. One of them two.
I think we can get rid of them, but we need to accept that we're not going to get what we think they're worth. So if you're happy
get rid of them.
If you're happy to take 20 million for Xhaka, you could shift him abroad. I'm confident.
Yeah.
But it's the problem we've got is because we've overpaid for them. Our valuation of what they're worth now is inflated. And when you look at the way the club's being run, and we're talking about money all the time, and that money's obviously an issue, it's hard to see how the club would sanction a move of 20 million pounds for someone like Xhaka. But that's what, for example, an Inter Milan or an AC Milan would see his value as, and we're just miles apart from how everyone else values those players because we overpaid for it.
Harry, we're worrying about money. After 13 years at the Emirates, we're worrying about 20 million, 2 million, 2 million. Come on. That's the heartbreaking thing. That's the annoying thing about being an Arsenal fan.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah,
that's why we moved to the Emirates, wasn't it? So we didn't have to worry about
it. Penny pinching over £2 million players. You know what I mean? And in saying that, we're not going to let Xhaka go because we ain't going to get enough value for him. But we're prepared to let players like Aaron Ramsey go for nothing.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know
exactly.
what I mean?
The way we've been run as a club, it goes completely
Shocking
against that mentality of maybe we don't want to sell because of the value, because we've lost in the past 2 years, we've lost out on probably transfer fees up to nearly £200 million in Sanchez, Ozil, Ramsey, Welbeck. In all of them players there, you've probably lost out up to 200 mil because we've mishandled contract, we've mishandled the situations we've been in over the past 2 years. So for them now to maybe potentially use the excuse, and I agree with Harry, we can let these players go, we can sell them. It's just I believe the club is not willing to take that loss or take that L in terms of fee. But in my opinion, let Xhaka go for 20 million, promote Bielik into the squad. At least Bielik is someone I will support 100% with all my heart this season because he's just someone who's young, who's not on a lot of money, who's out there to prove himself. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Xhaka's meant to be someone who came in 3 years ago and it was meant to be the steal in our midfield that we lacked for how many other years. Well, Torreira's come and done the same thing last summer and we're still in the same position we was 4 years ago. So at the end of the day, none of these players, and that goes down to Aubameyang and Lacazette for me as well, none of them actually care about the fans or care about the club enough for me to care about them enough. Now these youngsters need to be promoted now to give Arsenal fans some people, a group of players to cheer. Reece Nelson's comments over the summer in isolation have made me again understand what it is to be an Arsenal fan and what it is to have these players growing up in the side, because he actually wants to prove himself at the club he's supported his whole life, at the club he loves. And I love that from him. Instead of maybe seeking a move away to Germany where he would excel and where he would get more game time, he's willing to stay in this utter mess we're in to try and get us out of it. And I'd happily promote as much youth as possible and save as much money as possible. If that is the issue right now, save as much of this wage money as possible, like Koscielny on 90k, like Mustafi on 190k, like Xhaka on 100k, and just let these youngsters play out the season, because it hasn't been any better playing all these star names.
Exactly. With all those players, we're not going to get no more Ireland 6 anyway. You know what I mean? So we ain't. With that team with what we've got at the moment, the team that we've got out at the moment, 6 is the best we can get. So, you know what I mean? So you're going to go into a season with asking to pay all that money again. Like we've the best chance we've got is getting 6. You know what I mean? And people could turn around and say, oh yeah, but we only was 1 point off of this and we were 1 point off of that. Chelsea maybe a shot. Manchester United will not be where they are next season, and the other 3 teams and that will be well out of reach.
That's what I was saying though. That's what I've been saying. That last season was not a clear indication of where we are. Spurs at one stage were 11 points ahead of us. Their attentions turned to the Champions League. They
exactly.
Out the top 4. United at one stage were 11 points behind us, so they were done and dusted. Chelsea probably in the league had one of their most inconsistent seasons since Roman Abramovich took over. It was all the circumstances were there for us to get in the top 4, and we missed a huge opportunity.
Yeah, totally.
That we're okay because we were only 1 point outside the top 4. They're going to have a shock next season.
Well,
when
of course, because if you look back a few years, it's exactly the same thing when we finished second. Everyone thought we're improving as a football club. No,
Yeah,
look
exactly.
around. Everyone fucked the season up. So we, by default, managed to finish second in the last few games of the season. And you know, essentially the problem here, we could do anything in the last 3 weeks. We could sell Aubameyang for 80 million and go and spend 160 million. I do not give a shit anymore because there is a lack of planning. There's a lack of organization. We knew what we need towards the back end of last season. We should have secured some deals early on. If we want to wait till the kit launch to unveil them, whatever, we should have done things early on. I'm tired of this club being reactive. We need to be a lot more proactive. Chelsea, people say, oh, they're in and around us. Yes, they are. They've lost their best player, but in the last 6 years, they've won 2 Europa Leagues and 2 league titles. They're not around us right now. Let's really be honest.
Yeah, they're not.
Do you know what I mean? Man United, another team where every season they actually try at least. Yes, they've effed things up completely since Alex Ferguson, but their situation is completely different in a sense of they don't know what to try next because they've tried so many things. Arsenal haven't tried anything for the last 12 years. And with FFP, another thing I want to say is a lot of fans are stuck on the fact that you can only spend what you make. And yes, that is true to an extent. Now, if Kroenke invests 100 million into this squad, yes, we're going to have to earn that back in the next 3-year period to reach FFP regulations. But if you take that risk, you will potentially get that reward. And like we said with Chelsea losing their best player, with United potentially losing their best player in Pogba or an unhappy Camp again, this is the summer to have taken that risk. This is the summer to have invested maybe an extra 70 mil out of his own pocket regarding Kroenke, and then get into Champions League and make that money back. And then you don't have a worry about FFP because you've made that money back. You've balanced the books. You've broken even in that sense. But our fans think that, oh, we cannot spend it because we haven't made it. Yes, in a sense, you're right. But we can spend it if we want to make more money. That's what we need to think about.
The other thing is, Turkish, spend it, take the bleeding... take the transfer ban because Arsenal would love that anyway, and
get banned from Europa League because I don't fucking want to see that for many more years.
If you think about it, AC Milan have been having issues with FFP for 4 or 5 seasons, and only now, people are under this illusion that AC Milan have been kicked out of the Europa League. That's not what's happened. If you read the actual statement, UEFA and Milan have come to an agreement that they will withdraw from European competition until they find a solution to their FFP issues. So it's not the be-all and end-all. Like Turkish said, if we're not in the Europa League, who cares if it makes us competitive in other areas?
Because if you look at the income this season, off the top of my head, I think Liverpool and Tottenham made about 100 mil off the Champions League. We made 32 mil getting to the Europa League final. 32 mil to be travelling up and down Europe every Thursday, risking our league position, risking other things that should take priority. Now we can get banned from that competition. I don't really give a toss about it.
So what? When you say it like that, it makes it
32 million. 32 million is not really. It's a drop in the ocean in terms of big business Arsenal Football Club is. So for me to hear that 32 million is what you get to reach the final and win it, you might be 45 million. That is not good enough for where we need to get to. We need to prioritize the league positions because getting into Champions League gets you more money than 32 million anyway.
It's a Mustafi. It's a Mustafi.
We've earned the Europa League, guys. It's the only way of getting Champions League football. It's the only way we will get Champions League football.
Yeah,
that's the trouble. That's the trouble.
Come in there now. It's kind of upsetting hearing us all talking about money. If we get to this final, we only get this much. If we get to that final, we only get this much. Surely it's about winning the trophies as well. But I understand what you're saying, Turkish. Don't get me wrong. But isn't it sad that we're all sitting here bickering about how much money we're going to make out of being in a competition?
But that's what they've done to us, Craig.
Yeah, that's it is. Yeah,
that's what they've done to us. They've made it more. They've brainwashed the fans with the top 4 thing. Over the years, it was so important to get into that it was more important than a trophy. And let's be honest, it meant more to the club to get to top 4 than an FA Cup. Because we throw away the FA Cup on so many occasions. Yeah. I remember going for a semi-final against Man United and playing half the team. You know what I mean? So then all of a sudden you can't turn around 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 years later and go, oh, it's important now to us. You know what I mean? You set your stall out very, very early. But to us lot in here, you know, it's all still about winning trophies. You know what I mean? I wanted to win the Europa League last season, not for Champions League. I wanted a European trophy. I wanted to see us win something.
Yeah.
If I'll be honest, I can't see us. You know, we're not going to challenge for the title. We're not going to be involved in any of the domestic cups for a few years because other teams are going to take that more serious than us. And it is just the Europa League. But every time we come up in the Europa League, we come up against an Atletico Madrid, better team beat us. We come up against Chelsea, better team beat us, and it'll be Manchester United that will go through on that. Will be the team to beat in that next season, not us. And that's the problem, you know what I mean? Like I can with the team that we've got out at the moment, you know, we're not going to win the Europa League, boys. We're going to get to the semi-final, quarterfinals, but we're not good enough, and simply not good enough. And
are we? I'm trying. I'm only doing this obviously as the host, but are we writing off the team before we've even started kicking a ball? You know, are we right?
Enough is enough. Like I understand that mentality, and there's been so many seasons. I've started the season with hope off my own back. I've started the season with hope, thinking to myself, you know what, this is it's just about us. Before we make our feelings known, and in that regards, enough is enough. I'm literally willing to start anything on Newcastle away and keep it moving until something more changes, because like I said, I don't believe the last 3 weeks is going to really change my opinion on Stan Kroenke or the people in front of him right now.
What about you, Harry? Are we writing them off before we've even started kicking the football? I mean, we've got some good young players coming through. You know, people talk. You know, I'm really delighted to see. I'm actually happy to see this Martinelli lad go straight into the first team. I don't care where he's come from. I don't care how much he's cost. He looks. You know, someone's had a look at him, and if they think that he's good enough for us, bring him in. Let's see what he can do. We've seen young Saka been promoted to the first team. Reece Nelson's been promoted to the first team. You know, are we rubbishing these boys before saying, oh, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that?
No, I think we're right to have concerns.
Should we be given?
I think we're right to have those concerns because, put it this way, if you think about the players that you just mentioned, the young players that are coming through, yes, they've looked promising in glimpses here and there, but Reece Nelson's spell in Germany wasn't all it was cracked up to be. There was a lot of inconsistencies. A lot of people that I've spoken to, Kevin Hatchard, who's a Bundesliga commentator, spoke to me on a podcast a little while ago, and he spoke about the fact that if you watch the highlights of Reece Nelson's, particularly the first half of the season, it was great. After that, it sort of faded. He lost his way. And I'm not saying that these players don't have potential, but one thing that you guys will know, I always say, is the hardest thing to get out of a young player is consistency. And can you rely on those players over the course of the season? I don't think so. Put that together with the fact that I've got serious doubts about this manager, as you guys all know. I felt that he had the golden opportunity to achieve Champions League football, and that would have stood us in good stead. Not great stead, but a better stead than we're in now. We would have had more to spend, and he could start to then put his stamp on things. The problem I've always had with Unai Emery is that, do I think he's a bad manager? No. But do I think he's good enough to turn around this shit show? And the answer is probably no. So that's kind of where I struggle with it. And I think this season it's different because the transfer window is going to be closed before the start of the season. So there's no, the first few games, you're not going to get those people saying, oh, hold on till the end of the window. That's going to be gone. By the start of the season, we're going to know exactly who our squad is up until January at least. And I suspect that there won't be any significant business and people will be up in arms about it. And they'll have every right to be.
What about you, Lee?
Well, I'm obviously going to back the kids. I look forward to seeing those kids. But one difference about every single one of them, they're all attacking players. There's not one defender there. You know what I mean? And the defence is where we are weak. It let us down last season. We had 76% of play last season. Like, you know what I mean? Like attacking wise, and I think it was 34%, something like that, of defending. And we conceded 51 goals, boys, and we've not improved that one bit. It doesn't matter what you look at it, way you do it. We are not going to improve if we don't invest in the defending side of things. And that is a defensive midfielder as well. You know, the chances are we might get Zaha. We don't know, but we're still going to concede goals. And it's not, you know, that is not going to be Reece Nelson's fault, or it's going to be Saka's fault, or whoever. You know, I do like Smith Rowe in there. I think that he's another one that's going to come through. I like to see that, you know, Maitland-Niles playing in midfield. Let him take over from Aaron Ramsey. Let's see what he can do. I was very impressed when he played his one and only game that I can remember him playing in midfield was at Man United. You know what I mean? But you're asking kids, what, you're going to ask Reece Nelson to play right back this season? We haven't got one. We're sticking him at right back, or Sacco. Is that what they're going to do? You know, I know Harry's got his reservations about the manager, and I get that, and I'm with him on that. That's another one that you can look at. I will have to say about this. You know, somebody said to me the other day, what you know, Allegri's not going to come to Arsenal because of the finances and all that, because he's an elite manager. You know what I mean? So what does that tell us about Unai Emery then? What is he then? What is that saying about him then? Is a manager that's prepared to come here and go do all this? If you're an elite manager or a half decent manager, you're not going to put up with all this, Craig. You're not going to put up with it. So why is he? You know, and if at the end of this transfer window and we've not signed sufficient amount of players, he's a dead man walking.
I do agree with that, but at the same time, we can't use that against him. We can't use the fact that he was willing to give it a go against him. All I can say for Unai Emery is over the past year, in January, he came out and told us fans we have no money. That was refreshing because the previous manager used to hide that and tell us we have got money. And by this point in the summer transfer window, again, Arsene Wenger used to come out and tell us we have money. We would just be investing in world-class talent or talent that will improve the squad. So it would take all the blame upon himself. Now, all this Kroenke pressure, all this Kroenke build-up that's happened over the summer and happened in January because of the wages released, because of the zero investment, because of Unai Emery pretty much being quiet all summer. I think essentially he's doing a lot by not saying nothing. And we will be able to further judge him this season. And he is a dead man walking because the fans are going to have one agenda next season. I don't like using the word agenda because people online have twisted it, but it is the agenda of bringing back Arsenal Football Club to what we are used to, what we know we are. So I just think that Unai Emery, we can't use it against him that he took on the challenge, but at the same time, all I can ask from him is to continue exposing the truth by not saying much at all. And when his contract ends, which is inevitably going to do, because I also believe he is not the next manager to take us to the next level. Contrary to what I know, I argue his case, but I'm not a massive fan of his. I didn't know much about him beforehand. I've done my obviously research about him prior to signing for Arsenal. My thing is, whether it was Arteta that come in, whether it was Thierry Henry, whether it was Unai Emery, or whether it was Diego Simeone, none of these managers would have been able to do fuck all at Arsenal with the budget, with the way things are.
I agree.
So he is a dead man walking, but at least he has silently exposed some of the internal behaviours at Arsenal Football Club.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's not personal to Unai Emery, and I don't think, you know, Lee's spot on. You know, for me, it's just like, it's not a personal attack on him. It's not that I don't like him. It's not that I don't want him to succeed. I just feel like he is not in that elite bracket, and that is why he's taken a job, and that is why Arsenal have gone down that route. The problem is ultimately from the club, because they've actively gone out and got someone who's going to put up with their shit. They've appointed another manager who's going to be a yes man, maybe not in the same way that Wenger was, in the sense that he's going to sit and protect the board, but Unai Emery probably feels that Arsenal Football Club is a massive job for him, and so he's happy to be there, rather than a manager coming in and you know, ruffling feathers and being like, well, you've hired me because I'm one of the best, so I want X, Y, and Z. He's a manager that doesn't have that clout, but that's the club being sly, being sneaky, making sure that they hire someone that fits within what they want to do. And it's not personal to Unai Emery or anything like that. It's just purely because the club have actively gone and hired someone who they feel is going to put up with their shit and is going to carry on and do things the way they want to do them.
Yeah, and I fully agree with that. It's just that sometimes we as fans and we as people that have a following online and whatnot, we have to understand that because I agree with some points you're saying about Unai Emery, but it all does link back to Stan Kroenke. If you're not happy with Unai Emery's appointment, it's down to Stan Kroenke because the people he's put in charge has appointed him. So anytime we do mention maybe other problems we do think going on, because I was a big advocate of Wenger, right? But if you go to my interviews on AFTV those times, I always used to say Wenger has to go first, and in the next 2-3 years, Kroenke will follow, and then we'll finally see a light at the end of the tunnel. So it's about highlighting, okay, these are issues right now, but the umbrella of the issues is Stan Kroenke and linking it back to him. Otherwise things gain support like Unai Emery out when really that's not exactly the thing you are after by saying it. Because other people online have done the same thing, and me as well. So, sometimes it's about adding substance to the message as well, because a lot of our words can be taken out of context straight away online, and you've started a movement without actually aiming to start that movement.
Well, let's go to the next section that I wanted to talk about while I just cover up this shirt. You, because I know you don't like these shirts, Turkish, so I'll try and cover it up.
You see my Puma one still on? Yeah, wherever it is, there it is.
You went down to the Emirates Stadium on kit launch day, mate. And you were very vocal on Twitter about asking people not to buy the new kit until Stan Kroenke put his hands in his pockets. Now we spoke in DMs, and I explained to you why I bought this.
No, I understand.
Go easy on me. But I'll tell you what, the shit I've had to put up with over the weekend over buying it. But there you go.
I understand. People need to understand with the Adidas thing as well. It's a 5-year deal. We can stop investing now, and I have per se, apart from obviously my season ticket, which again, me and Harry have discussed online that giving away a season ticket is a lot easier said than done. But regarding merchandise now, it's a 5-year contract. The money is up front every year, so we will not be able to really have an impact until 2 years prior to the end of the contract. Now, when it reaches the 3rd year of the contract, if then the situation is still the same, then I really and truly expect a lot more Arsenal fans to stop buying the merchandise, because what the new brand will look at is the last 2 years of sales. Whether Adidas are renewing the contract or a new brand coming in. And if the last 2 years of sales have taken a massive drop, then the money offered to Arsenal won't be 60 million anymore or more. It'll be 40 million. So we'll be going in reverse. That to us fans is detrimental in the long run, because we're all arguing about money right now and we need more money. But at the same time, our battle with the owner to get him out seems to be down to money and making less money. Yeah. So we're in a merry-go-round right now. But I just believe that although I'm starting now regarding not supporting the merchandise, I expect, because I don't really expect things to change under his ownership, I expect it to grow, and I expect a lot more people to essentially stop buying over the next 3-4 years, which will then have a true impact on what we can do as a collective unit.
Absolutely. I mean, I've explained to everyone my feelings on it. I don't believe that not buying a shirt is going to hurt Stan Kroenke. That's just my personal belief. The man's worth £7 billion. His missus is worth £8 billion. She's under the bracket of KSE as well. Just in my opinion, Harry, and I'll come to you on this one, because I'm not having a go at Turkish. I'm just giving my opinion. I totally, absolutely respect what Turkish has done.
It's like not shopping in Asda, Craig. It's like, that it's basically the same thing. You know what I mean? We can look at all these companies and say, don't do this with that, don't do this with that. But it's about time. Regarding that, it is about the right time, choosing the right time to do it. Because I do love the kits, and it is hard for me not to buy them, especially because I like collecting kits over time. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sure Lee is the same, but it's just, I can't do it right now. I felt like a mug before. I've had 2 tracksuits every year, all 3 shirts every year. So I think enough is enough now. It's just... No,
I respect that, mate. I really do. I do respect that. And I'm not just saying it because you're standing in front of me now. I've already told you that.
Yeah, you have.
I just, in my own opinions, Harry, what do you feel about the new kit?
I absolutely love the new kit, and it's a shame that we're even in a position where we're discussing about boycotting buying a kit of a club that we all love. And me and Turkish were talking about this on Twitter. Like, it's a really horrible situation to be in as fans, because on the one hand, we want to hit Kroenke in the pocket, but none of us want to give up our season tickets. None of us want to stop buying the merchandise because we all love it. It's such a shit position to be in as a fan that there's no really right or wrong way. Either way, you've got your reasons. Like, people will spend money to go to the games, and that's because they want to go. Like, I don't feel so strongly that I would throw away my season ticket now. You know, but you've got to find the balance. But equally, I'm not doing that. I'm not protesting to that level at the moment. I think that the protest that's been started today, or the petition that's gone out today, I think what they've done really well is that they've, and that's not to say that nobody else has done anything good. I know Turkish, you've been doing some good things as well. But I think what they've done well is they've acted in the way that they're going after Kroenke's ownership, in the sense of, we want him to do it better rather than him out. Because I think that he, in an ideal situation, you want to get him out. But I think that's maybe the way of getting him to the table, or getting him to discuss, or getting, you know, the club to start some dialogue. I don't know. I just think that it was very well thought out, and it was very well worded. And you've seen by the media coverage that it's got today, 60,000 signatures. I was on TalkSport 2 earlier talking about it. I've been added into the group with some guys that are organising it and things. And, you know, it's very well planned. And I think when you're going to do something on a massive scale, we all need to just put everything else aside. Forget disagreements about buying kits, forget it about tickets, forget about buying food and drink in the stadium, forget about what we think about Unai Emery. Everyone needs to do it because at the end of the day, we all want the same things.
Yeah, I mean, and Turkish, I mean, you went down there with just, I mean, obviously the numbers you didn't hope for, but you made it into the national and local press as well, mate, didn't you? So, I mean...
Yeah, a little bit. But yeah, like...
Yeah, but little, you know, an acorn, an oak tree comes from an acorn, mate. So
yeah, that's it. At the end of the day, regarding that protest. Anyway, I know people said it was a little protest, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, 40 people on a Monday morning in London, to me, is a very good turnout. Do you know what I mean? So I was proud of the people that came down. I was happy with the turnout. And like I said, it wasn't about me. It's never been about me. It's about the club at the end of the day. And I'm glad other people, other influencers, other blogs have taken charge now and have collectively come out as a unit. I believe it should have been a lot more aggressive than this, in my opinion, because I believe like Harry said, it is a well formulated letter. It's a well put letter. I've actually done a video on my channel about it, and I'm fully supportive of it. It's just that I'm at a stage now where I look at that letter and I see another 2-3 years of time being given to Kroenke. And I don't want to give him that time anymore. Literally, I gave him a year after Wenger's departure. Halfway through this window, I'll down his neck again. If he comes out and gives us a plan, I might give him 1 more year up until 3 weeks into next year's transfer window, including this one and January. And if after he's talked to us, he hasn't improved anything, then again we go. But this letter does kind of seem to be giving him more time than I am willing to give him, and I believe a lot of fans are willing to give him. But again, we all support the same thing. Any pressure on Kroenke, whether it's about investment, whether it's about atmosphere, whether it's about his wigs. I don't care. Any pressure on Kroenke right now, anything that can push on and really build and really make some noise and unify the fan base, I'm all for it. I don't care who starts it. I don't care who signed it. I don't give a shit. It's just for Arsenal Football Club.
I think as well, it's like these guys the letter they've put together and stuff. It's very important to note that even they're saying, you know, this is the start of it. And, you know, they've been sort of giving interviews today and they've been saying, this is the first, we're putting the flag down. And if, you know, we don't get the dialogue, we don't get what we want, then we will start to take it a little bit further. So, I mean, the idea is great. The vision's good and everything. The fingers crossed everyone can just get behind it, because we know that this fan base has been divided on really issues for years.
I think for any protest or for anyone to take notice, this fan base has got to unite as from today.
Agreed.
Exactly.
It's got to be done. I don't care if you're Wenger in. I don't care if you were Wenger out. I don't care if you're Emery in. I don't care if you're Emery out. I don't care if you're Ozil in. I don't care if you're Ozil out.
And if you don't agree with it, just shut the fuck up online as well. I'll be honest. If you don't agree with it, I don't want to hear wait. I don't want to hear. Just shut up about it. If you don't agree with it, look past it. Because I'm tired of people questioning it. Because people questioning it alone brings it down. If you don't like it, even you, Craig, I've seen you people say wait, and you have debated them online, and it just I want to get involved sometimes, but I've just saw that culture over the last few years, and waiting has got us this far. Waiting has got us to the stage we're at now. I'm tired of waiting.
People need to learn the skill of scrolling past something when they disagree with it.
Exactly.
No, it's not even that, Harry. It's not even that. It's a way to for like the weekend when people came to me about buying a shirt. Right, it's for them to agree, for the minions to agree with the person who's like, there was 5 or 6 of them, all having a go at me about buying a shirt, but it was all cheap retweets and likes, and let's all have a go. Let's have a go at Turkish. He's on Arsenal Fan TV. We'll get some likes and we'll get some retweets. Let's have a go at Harry because he doesn't like Unai Emery. It'll get us retweets and likes. That's what it is. It's not because it's not because they actually feel what they're saying to you. It's just because they want to get noticed. That's what I found anyway. Taking a lot. I mean, there's a certain account on Twitter. Anything that happens at Arsenal Football Club. I mean, I thought I was bad at moaning, but even if it's a good thing, it gets moaned about. It's absolutely amazing. Lee, let's come to you, mate, before we wrap up because we've been going for an hour nearly. Let's keep on the subject of the Kroenke thing. It's got to be big, mate. In my opinion, it's got to be an empty the Emirates situation.
Yeah, well, that's what I think that it should come down to. I think that a couple of things is about the shirts. I think that you're right about that. I choose not to buy a shirt at this moment in time because the club hasn't spent. If the club spend, then I'll spend. So that's how I feel, you know what I mean? And whether that's right or wrong, it's going to make an impact or not. Of course it's not. But that makes me feel a bit better. The thing about season tickets, right, if you ask fans if they'd give away their season tickets this year, but then they could get them back when they want, there'll be a lot of fans giving away season tickets. The reason that you can't give away your season tickets is because you can't get it back. It's going to be 10, 15 years. So if you say, we'll give away our season tickets tomorrow, Kroenke leaves and a new man comes in, there's a great wave. You're 10, 15, so you can't be done. But if they said to me, right, you've got to give up your season ticket this season, and everybody was going to give up their seasons, but you could get them back when you want, right, there'd be a lot more people giving up their season tickets. So they've got you by the short and curlies on that way. Now, I feel that there's two ways to do this, and I've read the letter today, and it's great. It's a start, but it's not going to make no impact. You know what I mean? Like, to me, the way you're going to make the impact is that if everybody agrees, and it's a big thing. But when we play, if there's not sufficient funds to push for us to go to challenge for what the fans want, come that game against Burnley, I feel that every fan that goes into that ground should turn around and say, right, I'm not going in today. Right, I'm not going to go in for the first half or whatever. And everybody goes in there, and that means then you picket the lines of the peacefully as you possibly can, and you say to everyone that's thinking about going in, look, for the love of Arsenal Football Club, please stay out for this game. You know what I mean? Don't buy any merchandise on the day. When you don't forget, it's on BT Sports. So when that game comes out, there's an empty stadium. That will impact more than anything else. It's one game to impact. You know what I mean? Like, and that. Or you all go in and you all walk out at a certain stage. Now, if everybody comes up with a plan that everybody agrees to and will do, then I'm willing to do that. You know what I mean? Like, and give up my game for that game. Now that means that there's obviously a lot of people that can't get into the ground, the one who are not going to the game. So I would urge them to make the effort to get to the ground that day and help along the line. So if you've not got a season ticket, you've not got a ticket to get into the game, you can be there to show you how many numbers are not prepared to walk through that door. And that is the bottom line of it. You imagine that you go to the bars and the restaurants and the catering staff, and they're all sitting there with nothing to do and not one burger or one beer sold on that day. It will send a message that we are not happy and we've had enough. And we've had enough, so much so that we're prepared to not go and watch our beloved Arsenal for one game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a big message, Craig. It's a
massive message, man. But it's a really big message. I mean, Liverpool
and
fans,
you're going to get the tourists going and the business people going. We know that. But they're not going to enjoy themselves, those tourists, when there's 1,000 or 2,000 fans not in the ground. If there's 10,000 in that ground, they're not going to get the atmosphere and the great experience of Arsenal if all the fans are out. And then you say to Kroenke, and if you carry on doing it, we'll do it again. But then you go back in and you do everything there. And then the January transfer window, if nothing's been rectified in that, then you do it again for the first game in January. You do it again, and then they come to the following season. Then that transfer window, there's going to be more and more and more and more that's going to come. But also, what it tells you, Craig, is that at the end of the day, it tells you that the fans are not happy. And it doesn't matter whatever you do, whether he does it or not. That is not good publicity for Arsenal Football Club on a live game to see all of the stadium empty. Also, people will turn around and say, "Oh, it might affect the players. It might affect the players." No, it's not, because we're not going to win the league. If we don't sign any players, we're not winning the league. We're coming 6th, 7th, or whatever. It will not affect. But what it will do is will it affect in the long term, hopefully in a positive way.
Absolutely. Yep. We're going to have to wrap things up here, but I just want to ask you all one more question before we go. This question comes in from Miss Same Old Arsenal, Karen. She's in the chat. So good evening to you, Karen, and thanks for the question.
All right, Karen.
All right, Karen.
Harry, say hello to Karen, please. Show a bit of respect.
Hi, Karen.
Thanks very much. She's the first lady, She wants to know, if Kroenke was standing in front of you now, what would you one question. Turkish. If Stan Kroenke was in front of you now, what would that question be?
I'll go first. Can I go first?
Yeah, let Lee go first, because I've got a lot running through my mind.
Why have you done this to my beloved Arsenal? Why have you ruined my Arsenal?
Yeah. Mine would be, what do you want?
To get out?
What do you want? What have you bought us for? Why are you here?
Mine would be, you're worth £7 billion and you can't find a fucking decent wig.
Mine simply would be, what are you
bold
doing?
And be proud.
Exactly.
Has anyone ever noticed that every time someone's mentioned the wig this podcast, Lee's eyes have lit up?
Yeah, mine would just be, what are you doing? And what are you doing in every sense, every way, shape, or form? That would be the beginning of an onslaught of questions. I'll be honest with you, but what are you doing would be the lead.
The lead question,
and I don't mean what are you doing here. I mean, what are you actually doing, mate? That's what I mean.
I would ask them all if I ever see that the little fella, little Spanish bloke. What's his name? Who's in?
Raul.
Raul. I'd ask him what he's doing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's your job. I could, I could smack it. I could smack him, but you can't hit little people. But you know what I mean. But he's another one. I'd even ask Edu, what are you doing? You know what I mean? To me, I love Edu. Great.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the best. But what are you doing? You're tarnishing your reputation by coming in with this shower.
Let's hope he has a motive. Let's hope.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Because I'd be very disappointed if I end up thinking like Edu, like I did Steve Bold. They've ruined Steve Bold.
Of course,
and
exactly.
I don't want them to be ruining Edu.
Exactly. No, 100% agree with that.
Right, we're gonna have to knock it on the head there, boys. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Nice one.
Just shy 400 live viewers.
Brilliant.
So thank you very much.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for joining us. Thanks everyone in the chat box. You are absolutely brilliant in the chat box. I'm actually, how could I put it? Proud is the wrong word. No, actually, yes, I am proud of our community and how you're all, good to each other and you all debate well with each other. There's no swearing, there's no calling people names. It's great to see. So carry that on. Thanks, Nigel, for moderating this evening. Leaves me a few things to do. Is to thank Turkish. Thank you very much for coming on, mate. It's been
no problem. No problem. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
Thank you, mate. Harry, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you for having me again, man.
And judges, thank you very much, mate.
No worries. I really enjoyed that, boys. That was really good.
It was good. Now, Turkish has his own YouTube channel as well. So, Turkish, plug away, mate.
Turkish LDN TV. That's my channel name, Turkish LDN, on the socials, Twitter and Insta. Yeah, but that's me.
Turkish LDN, go and follow. And Harry, Chronicles of a Gooner going very well, mate.
Yeah, it's getting there. Yeah, you can subscribe to the Chronicles of a Gooner, my Arsenal podcast.
do go and support the lads. Go and support everyone who appears on here, because that's what we want to do. We want to support them. We all support the same club. We all want the same thing.
Yep.
So yeah, let's go and support them. So until next week, thank you very much indeed for watching. Everyone, like the video, subscribe, and if you're watching on replay, thanks very much for watching. And if you're new around here, subscribe, like the video, retweet it on Twitter, and all that lovely stuff. Until next week, up the Arsenal.